Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about information technology in regards to healthcare, having a fascinating conversation here about all things healthcare and the use of technology. Bill, I'm going to throw it over to you and ask you to give a specific program you'd like to highlight for the listening audience.
Thanks, Luke. And I really appreciate you having me go last. And I mean that very sincerely, because I got to listen to what everyone else is doing. And it reminded me that what we do at the firm, and I'm going to view the firm as a program, is focus on the things that we do together, right? So Nick was talking about people, we need to get away from the systems approach. We need to take a data approach. We need to provide the capabilities, and we need to manage the IT in the background. That's where the firm comes in when it comes to the electronic health record, right? We have 3 different departments using a single record. You need a single provider, a single operator of that, and a single protector of that enclave environment and delivery of those capabilities. So we're focused there. Ryan talked about the fire standards, right? And the firm and the DoD and the VA got together. They singled up on and created the Joint Health Information Exchange, where we have a single exchange with industry partners and commercial community healthcare providers to deal with those 2 massive healthcare systems. So, and we're shifting all of that to the fire standards, where you get better usability of the data, better accessibility, more relevant data, right? Providers can specify, once you've implemented the fire standards, the domains that they're interested in, and that's the kind of information that comes back. So when you're creating this record about this image and picture of the data about a patient, not where the care was delivered or who delivered the care, the fire standards and a singled up Joint Health Information Exchange make a tremendous impact. Neil talked and Holly talked also about the connected care and the telehealth and the ability to extend the workflows and the access to care through electronic means, and how important that became during the pandemic. And Holly addressed, and through the firm, we made all these connections and we brought everyone together. The DoD was able to sort of bootstrap themselves up and take advantage of the years-long work that the VA had put into creating that connected care experience, bringing that same technology over to the DoD and looking at it from the common record, an extension of those workflows that are being delivered through the electronic health record, singling that up and sharing it across the broader space.
Really does thread together all these various activities and processes. Yes. Fascinating. I'm going to swing over to priorities at this point because we're getting a little tight on time. I want to make sure we get to those. Ryan, top priority for you this year?
Yeah, that's pretty easy for us. You or some of you may remember in 2016 that Congress passed a bipartisan piece of legislation called the 21st Century Cures Act, and supports the information sharing and the trusted exchange and the creation of what's called TEFCA, the Trusted Exchange Framework and Common Agreement provision of that legislation. And we are very focused. This is where a lot of our team is spending their time. As we've all noted, there's been a lot of progress made, but there is still patchiness. And it's really still very difficult to navigate the blizzard, as Holly we're definitely going to have to use that and to find that relevant and reusable data and information, and especially between hospitals and ambulatory practices. So we are very focused on ramping up and supporting nationwide networks.
We really do appreciate that. Dr. Evans, how about at VA? Top priority for you all?
I think pulling together a lot of what we've heard today. Health information technology performs well when we have a relentless focus on the user's experience, meeting the user's need, building systems that delight the user because they're bringing the right data together at the right time. That is, that interacting with these information technology systems solves real problems for the healthcare providers who are delivering the care, who have an overwhelming amount of responsibility on a daily basis, that we're empowering their experience, but also solving real problems for our customers, patients, in our case, in VA, veterans, as they access care, making it easier for them to navigate the healthcare system, to get access to their own healthcare data. And we only accomplish that when we come with a mindset that has a relentless focus on user-centered design, the user experience, configuring a joint electronic health record between DoD and VA in a way that empowers care delivery and empowers those who are doing it. So that, to me, is really our top priority.
Fantastic. And there's not a show that somebody doesn't mention that user-centered design, that user experience. So important. Bill, top priority for the firm this year.
At the firm, our top priority at the moment is transforming the experience with the EHR into IT that you don't have to think about, or as Nick said, IT that works for you instead of IT that you work for. He said something like that. So to accomplish that, we're focused on what we can do with the Federal Healthcare Center, James A. Lovell Federal Healthcare Center, which is a joint site between DoD and VA, a very integrated site, bringing the modern record, the improved health record, harmonizing the workflows at that location, to me serves as a real prototype of what we can do to bring the IT together and take that out of the equation when the VA health system and the DoD health system want to make decisions about how they best work together to support the patients of the two systems. So, and the patients are often the same people, right? The DoD creates veterans, and then the VA serves those veterans for the remainder of their life. So what we do up in North Chicago is a prototype for how the two can work together without IT being the consideration and the determination of how they can be connected and where they can share resources.
Love the thought of that, and look forward to an update on that as that whole program progresses. Holly, number one priority for Defense Healthcare Management Systems this year?
Well, aside from working through the highest slope of our deployment strategy, where we're working through a significant number of military treatment facilities this year with the EHR, I would say for me, it's about modernizing the healthcare delivery aspect associated with readiness. So from an operational perspective, really, we started out focusing on healthcare delivery in sort of what I'll say the garrison environment, and extending that and leveraging that. How do we improve that care from a readiness perspective? How does it tie to the services needs to understand whether their medical force is ready to deploy and support in those environments, or on the flip side, whether all of the troops who are all the servicemen and women are ready to actually go deploy based on their medical condition and priorities. So how do we modernize the data-centric approach to that readiness information and improve our posture from a defense perspective? So really that's kind of my shift gears to get those foundations in place so that we can connect that data for operational support.
Love the laser focus there, and I'm sure all the veterans do as well. Ben, we're gonna start with you, and what we'd like to do is talk about what the future looks like, right? If we could fast forward 2 to 3 years, and you look around at Red Hat, what can we expect to see? What's the demand signal coming in that you all are going to be working on that undoubtedly you'll be delivering in, let's say, 2 to 3 years?
I would definitely want to focus a little bit of the conversation on what we're seeing with edge computing. So essentially providing incredible compute power to areas of the world that hasn't had it before. For DHA, for instance, is really focused on getting compute onto ships, into forward deployed field hospitals. And once you have compute in those locations, you can do some pretty incredible things. So we're really hyper focused on that. And then the other one is, with the federal EHRM programs, modernizing in general and putting a lot of effort into bringing new EHRs online. There's a lot of BPM-based workflows that are getting established to assure critical workflows are maintained during those transitions. And I'd really like to see those standards-based workflows be automated and directly communicating with existing and new IT systems.
And really keep up with the spirit of real time. Fascinating. Nick, how about at Pure Storage? What are we thinking in 3 years? What do you all have cooking up there in the lab that you're going to be introducing to the community to continue to support these daunting efforts?
I'm gonna pull a thread on something Ben said about computing at the edge. So our job is to make sure that the data is at the edge for the compute to work with as well. And to Ben's point, that these services and processes become ubiquitous. So our continuing focus is on extending data service from the edge to the core across on-premises and off-premises infrastructures. Think of it as data without borders, to go with doctors without borders. So extend the data protection capabilities, data management and services that seamlessly unify data across the cloud and on-premises, and of course, making things bigger and faster because data is getting bigger and the demand for timeliness of that data is continuing to increase as well. So we're seeing in enterprise spaces, industrial spaces, and government spaces, everybody expects their data and their services to move at the same speed as their smartphone does. And why not?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Our job is to help make that happen.
Right. Now, yeah, everyone's expecting sort of that old term here, carrier class capability in storage at the edge. And no question that you all are well on your way to doing that. Mobeen, how about at ServiceNow? Undoubtedly, you all are developing new capabilities out there to continue to rapidly deploy these environments that you described earlier. What can we expect in 3 years?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot going on, obviously. I'll mention a couple of things, and these are things that I see as well as just, federal priorities that are coming up more and more. The first being security. So I know that's been a point of discussion a little bit here today. So NIST 800-207, Zero Trust, how do we facilitate or work with our agent customers and federal partners to really establish and institute a Zero Trust architecture? Another major part of it is just modernizing the employee experience. You talk about things like attracting and retaining talent, how to help compensate for an aging workforce. You may need people that have new or different skill sets. There are situations where you want to reduce your dependence on contractors. Again, these are common things that we're seeing from different federal agencies, and having the technology and systems and workflows to enable that is important. Another component of this is just brand awareness and reputation management, which has become that much more important in a digital economy, right? So you think about the institutional trust and confidence in patient services and beneficiary services and just core federal services, both within the organization and outside of it, and the way that technology can help with that. That's been a major point of focus for us, and the type of solutions that we've developed and work with our federal partners on to help them institute. And then the last thing I'll mention quickly is just low code, no code application development. And so just sunsetting some of those legacy solutions that are just, at times difficult to manage, may have been poorly designed, just becoming a little more agile, figuring out ways to get those things, quickening the time to value. So
yeah, just taking advantage of these new environments. Thank you. Holly, you talked about, you're just doing I think an OCONUS environment. You're about a third of the way through. What's it going to look like in 2 to 3 years? You're going to have a bow on that one, and you're off to the rest of it. What can we expect over the next year?
But we're on glide path to be complete with all our deployments of the EHR by the end of calendar year 23. And wow. So our focus in the next couple of years is really about enhancing. So and we've adopted a continuous delivery model. So we're not just delivering a baseline and then trying to improve it after we're done deployments. We're doing this in parallel. And so we have this continuous delivery model where we're all the time looking at the user needs, enhancements. And so it gets to be, okay, where are there gaps? Where are there new innovations that we can take advantage of for industry to connect information? How do we get more, like I said, integrated with the point of care? That's really from an EHR focus, what I think we will be doing in the next couple years, because obviously we'll have the deployments complete. So it'll be focused on how do we enhance that user experience and provide new capabilities. And then in the rest of the data realm, again, it's really how do we turn that data into action? So you know, right now we're just scratching the surface of what we can do with the data, right? It's, you know, there are certain things that we know we can integrate in, but we don't know what we're going to uncover by having this plethora of data available to us. And now that we can mine it, it's really about how do we turn that into action, into something that's really a value proposition for having that at our fingertips. So that's what I'm focused on the next few years.
Very exciting times there. Bill, how about at the firm? What's it going to look like in a couple of years out there for you all?
Well, Luke, what I think is most interesting is in a couple of years, everything we've talked about here will be in place, right? Holly will have delivered the EHR and have the data foundational stuff in place. The VA will have done the same thing. So what I look forward to in a few years is what happens next. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't know. Like many of the big things we do, you know, as a society, we know the problems that we're solving, right? We know why we're doing the things we're doing today, but it creates a different environment. And there are things that we're going to enable by making all the data available, making it more usable through the FHIR standards. All of these things that everyone's talking about here are going to create opportunities that none of us can envision yet. So we're going to bring AI in, and I don't know what's going to happen, but we are taking the right steps now to solve immediate problems, yes, but to position us for a transformation in healthcare delivery as we move forward.
Fascinating to think about what may or may not be able to happen going forward. Dr. Evans, tell us in 2 to 3 years, if I'm a freshly minted veteran, let's say, if I can use that term, with all due respect, am I ever going to even go into a VA facility, or are I going to be able to do all this remotely, electronically, comprehensively?
You know, Luke, healthcare will always have an in-person component, but I think as we think 2 years, 3 years into the future, our vision really is that we should be able to provide trusted care. And that's really what we're here to do in the federal healthcare system, in both the Department of Defense and in the VA, is to deliver a high quality product that is healthcare, relationships with healthcare providers who are bringing the best science and the best knowledge to the table, but delivering that trusted care anytime and anywhere. It's operating more as a real-time healthcare system where, for example, these health information technologies in the background are supporting the workflow to get people connected in real time with somebody who can help address their healthcare needs. And that we're able to deliver that anywhere, which often will be in person, sometimes will be remote, but may also be increasingly sharing between, for example, the DoD and VA healthcare systems, which will be operating on the single common record as we move forward. So a tremendous opportunity for us to start to rethink what that experience of anytime, anywhere healthcare feels like.
Sounds fascinating, and we certainly look forward to it. Ryan, you are in a unique position there to sort of look at the overall superstructure as you stay ahead of the curve there. What can we expect in 2 to 3 years from where you stand in your perspective at the National Coordinator for Health IT?
So maybe when I say this out loud, it'll come to fruition. But what I would like to see happen is that we continue to work together to leverage existing standards and the existing foundation that we've worked for decades and that this country has invested a lot of money to build over the years, and that we transfer that same objective approach to the management of information to how we work together and how we communicate and understand the networks, how we understand the needs that we have as organizations or industry partners, and that we do all of that to try and row in the same direction to build a truly universally interoperable system. So that's what I hope to see, and I think healthcare IT present us with a really unique opportunity, because it's something, no matter what your background or political affiliation or personal views, that it really is something we can all agree on as a basic human right, and using data to keep things non-charged, if you will. I think that's what we're going to continue to see through the use of technology in the future.
Well, that's a great way to wrap it up. And I just want to thank all of today's guests for taking the time out of your busy schedule for today and for everything that you do on behalf of all the veterans all the folks that are in the DoD, every American citizen that needs healthcare, right, is going to be taking advantage and has taken advantage of these capabilities that you're describing there. So I thank all of you. I also want to thank the sponsors here for supporting us on this show. I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network for making our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience out there that tune into us every month. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.